Call to order the Ellettsville Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, October 7th, 2021. Pat, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Denise, would you like to do the roll call?
David Drake.
Here.
Dan Swafford.
Here.
Terry Baker.
Here.
Don Calvert. Sandra Hash.
Here.
Pamela Sample.
Here.
Pat Wezalowski.
Here.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for September 2nd, 2021.
Can you table them, please?
Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
I
to
make a
table?
motion we table the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Monthly conflict of interest statement. Does anyone have anything they would like to declare as a conflict of interest for this meeting? Seeing none, we have no old business. New business is voluntary annexation of 5010 North Lakeview Drive, approximately 1.03 acres. The petitioner is Kevin Ferris of Ferris Storage Incorporated, case number PC 21-19. Kevin?
All right, good evening, and I don't see the petitioner here, but I think I can handle this for you and probably answer all the questions, so let's go for it. Petitioner is requesting a voluntary annexation of 5010 North Lakeview Drive. It's about a 1 acre parcel. He's requesting it be zoned C3 general commercial, which, as you'll see on the next map, matches everything around it. Reason for annexation is the petitioner would at some point in the future like to expand his current storage business onto this lot. Staff recommends a favorable recommendation to the town council. Probably should have said that earlier. This will just be a recommendation to the council with a recommended zoning. And this has been properly noticed in the mail and in the Herald Times. I said he's requesting it to be zone C3, which is the purple color and surrounds it on 3 sides, and everything to the north is still in the county. So it would match the zoning directly around it. Zoomed in a little farther, here's the existing storage units. This parcel here is used for RV storage, things of that nature, and I think that is what would be on the newly annexed parcel. And just for informational purposes, you have other commercial uses in the area. You have Domino's just off the screen. This is a what is it, a smoke shop or whatever it is now, and apartments. Where's my mouse? Apartments above it, and a church just above that. So you have a number of commercial or higher intensity uses around there. So it wouldn't, I mean, not that storage buildings are very high intensity generally. Just a couple of pictures of the site. You can kind of see to the right, the right-hand side, the camper and RV storage. Neat and orderly. And that's just another look at the house. The only thing I don't know for certain, I believe he's intending to keep the house as a rental. So, and the house itself looked in good shape when we were out there looking at it. So that's all I have. Like I said, staff recommends a favorable recommendation to the town council with the C3 zoning. Can't talk tonight.
The house just to the north of that property looks awfully close to the property line. Is what kind of a buffer would we automatically require for a C3 between that?
The setback would be 20 20 feet, so it would double.
So
Well-
20 feet from a building or 20 feet from, let's say there's a drive, like on, let's say there was a drive between that accessed the north side of a storage building. Would it have to be 20 feet back?
The building, anything that was built on that property would have to be 20 feet off the property line. And I don't know that he's intending on putting more buildings up there. It may just be more open area for RV storage.
What about the gravel paved? I mean, it looks like gravel on that first lot. So would that gravel have to be 20 feet from the property line?
No, it wouldn't be considered a structure, so it could go out pretty close.
Is that a driveway or the lot next to that house?
On the south?
Well, looking at it, it's on your right-hand side, looking at this picture that I have here.
That house that's close, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
so
That's Ferris's.
this is Ferris then to the right?
Yeah, that's his
Yeah,
RV
that's
storage.
Okay.
this lot down here, where this driveway and gravel, it's up in this portion.
So that already goes to Lakeview Drive then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there anything besides a setback required buffering from a commercial to a residential?
The only other buffering that would go in there would just depend on what the use was afterwards.
Is that already set out? And, I mean, can we make a we'll go back to these conditions again. Can someone make a condition that just says that there should be some type of buffering between the single-family house and the commercial?
It is in our code. We have required buffering for commercial projects.
Does it matter, I'm just asking because I'm curious, if Kevin Ferris is going to rent it out as residential, that it's still buffered from the next residential?
That wouldn't. It's, the buffering's based off the use and not so much the zoning. Because we allow single-family zoning, or single-family housing in C3 zones, so it just depends on what it actually gets used for.
So if it's a gravel lot, it wouldn't require any buffering?
Not really. I mean, we probably asked to put something up, and he may want to put something up as far as landscaping, but it wouldn't require a significant buffer, no.
Have we heard anything from the person who owns the property to the north?
Heard nothing, I haven't heard anything.
And the sign was right out there in the front yard.
Can't miss it.
So they must not have been too concerned about it.
So how far is the house off of the lot? Off of Kevin's lot right now?
I do not know.
And there is no landscape buffer between his gravel lot now and that existing yard that was residential until he purchased it. So my guess is he doesn't plan to put any buffer unless we tell him he has to.
I think if we asked him to, he will.
Looks like cut a tree down there or something I did.
But he also, I mean, he owns that property now, and he has for a little while, I don't know how long.
What was it you said, I'm sorry?
Kevin Ferris has owned this property for a little bit of time.
My comment was that he didn't put any buffering between the gravel lot now and the residential lot that he has purchased. So if there's no buffering there now, I would say he's not planning on putting any buffering on the new lot unless we push the issue maybe.
Well, he also may have already owned that lot that's being annexed now, the same time he put that gravel in. I don't know when he purchased it, but I know it's been at least since last year.
Yeah, he came in last year when Kevin wasn't here, Kevin Flotty one day, and I think he'd already purchased it then last year. He talked about his plans and he may go on purchasing on up at some point also.
Well, the last time we had a storage thing before us,
one of our conditions was no outside storage. And, you know, we start having a lot of the outside storage, and we're going to end up having it look like a junkyard.
Well, we let that gentleman there on Flatwoods have outside storage.
Richards.
But we
Richard
did the one on
Small.
46.
I don't remember.
I do.
I think there is a need for RV storage.
Yeah, there's a use, but is
Oh, and
that
boats.
the proper place for it? I mean, you can see it from 46. That's the kind of projection we want to make to the people driving through that might want to live here. Oh, they got all kinds of RVs stored out there.
Well, he's already doing it on that lot he has
Yeah.
gravelled.
That went through, and, you know, that was back.
I don't know if we discussed it much, what he was gonna do
No.
with that when he annexed that
No,
lot.
we didn't. That wasn't a big issue back then.
You know, Kevin, when I looked at this picture, these two pictures, this bottom, well, the top one, you show the driveway, then the bottom, it looks like there's an RV in that driveway. Am I wrong?
That's in Kevin's lot.
That's in Kevin's lot, yeah. See the other RVs in there?
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I don't see where the driveway is in there. So he just must puts it right next to it, I guess.
I think it's, there's the garage to the left of that house.
No, I mean to the right, where I'm looking at, there's an RV, it looks to me like that's a driveway, not a storage place or storage lot, because there's grass to the right of that.
Well, it's his lot.
I know that's his lot, but there's nothing,
Go back to where it shows the gravel lot. Okay, look, see there? The driveway,
the driveway's on the other side
yeah.
of the house.
Yeah,
But
but,
I'm looking at this here, and it's the same side of the house. I don't see any gravel here, so he must be parking them right next to there then. See what I'm saying?
yeah, and it looks by the RV parking like there's more gravel there now than is in that photo.
That's right.
You-
That photo is April of 2020, I think, their last aerial photos. they
Well,
put on
you guys have been down there, right? Is that grassy area in the gravelled lot filled in with gravel now, or is it still pretty much like this?
I thought it was filled in.
I think so.
Because these RVs are awfully close. That would still been grass where these RVs are sitting if it hadn't been.
So he's planning on doing outside RV storage again in this new lot, if he gets it zone C3, correct?
Well, Kevin wasn't here when I had a conversation with him, and he told me, and I think I told Kevin at the time, that he was undecided. He may add another storage building in the future. He was just undecided at the time.
But it
So,
would probably be adjacent to his existing storage building, so he would replace some of the gravel lot with additional buildings.
But he's undecided because he said there was such a need because, you know, of all the homeowners associations, and then the town itself has some codes about how RVs and boats are stored. And so he's found the need, people came to him and are renting out the space to store their RVs.
All right, I think we're getting off track just a little bit. What it's being requested is the zoning of C3, which would allow outdoor storage or a storage building, or any other use in the C3 zone. That is what would be permitted. Anything new would come before Planning Commission for approval for a development plan.
zone C3, he just wants to park RVs in there, he wouldn't necessarily have to come back to us, correct?
If you expand the business, no. If anything else different were to go in there, then yes.
Because my feeling is you have a resident right there to the north. I'm sure they're not gonna wanna look out their yard and see a bunch of RVs there. Is there any way we could put some kind of landscape buffer, or can we?
I don't think there's any way to condition a rezoning request. It would be very tricky.
So once we let him annex that in, and is it for rezone and annexation, or just?
Well, we have to assign a zoning or zoning district to it when we annex it.
So I guess, Darla, if we let it go C3, then he can do what he wants out there?
As long as it's in the C3, it's permitted by C3, yes. And I don't think you can put conditions on an annexation. So if you're not happy with the C3, I guess the solution would be to go back to Kevin Ferris and ask him if he wanted to annex it with the understanding it would be another zone. So, I mean, if you're worried about what he's going to do with it, if it's a C3, I think that's the solution.
Well, does C2 allow storage units?
No.
It's just multifamily?
It's only C3, yeah.
And I'm not opposed to the expansion of the business at all. I mean, my only concern is that we protect the person who lives right there that close to the northern boundary in some way from having a building right there next to their house that people are coming and going from in the middle of the night to load and unload their storage units.
Plus, I would think, some kind of a fence in there to help protect the campers and stuff that's stored there from vandalism and stuff.
Well, I think we're gun shy too. A lot of things that has happened in the past, and we don't want that to happen. And so we want to do our due diligence to the town of Ellettsville too.
What does the county have that zoned as? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, dumb question, but the gravel lot's already in town, right?
Yeah.
It's just the house?
Just the, house.
That's what I thought it was. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
But, that gravel lot never came before us. He just annexed that other property, probably as C3 when he did it. So, what were you going to say, Kevin?
What's the county,
Wasn't gonna say
It was
anything.
David started asking.
Oh,
Or what the county zoning was for that?
I don't know, probably something where you can't even live in a house on it. So, yeah. So I'm not really sure that's
Just for the house.
correct.
that's all it's zoned for?
What's that?
The county just zoned it for,
It's zoned residential, the county.
well, it would be advisable for us to zone it the same, and then if he wants to have it rezoned, have him come in?
If it's not going to be zoned commercial, I don't think he's going to annex. That really serves no purpose. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm assuming he's annexing because the county won't let him do anything. They won't let anyone do anything.
but just come to Ellettsville,
Except
we'll let you do
at
everything, everything.
Centennial, they let them do anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Depends on who you are.
I assume there's no big rush on this if he doesn't have any immediate plans, so maybe we should table this until he can come and answer some of these questions.
Seems fair.
Now, is the petitioner, Darla, you said that you didn't think we could actually make commitments. I know this came up in the meeting about the apartments, but I thought that well, the difference is that wasn't an annexation.
Right.
That was just a rezone.
Right.
Okay,
You
so,
can't put conditions on a rezone.
but can the petitioner make commitments as part of an annexation? And if we're going to table this, you don't have to answer that right this minute.
Yeah, I would rather not right now answer that. I don't think the statute allows for it, but there's also a case that says if a petitioner makes a representation, they're generally held to that, but again, that's usually for rezones. So I don't know, Dave, so.
Well, my thought is we can't stop it if we don't like what's going to happen if we change it to a C3. That's our only option, is to not allow it to be a C3 or table it until we can talk to him and see what he has in mind.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we table PC 2119.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Denise?
David Dre,
Yes?
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
Terry Baker.
Yes.
Sandra Hatch.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Pat Wizalowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So this will be on the agenda for our next meeting, and hopefully Kevin will be able to be here to answer some of these questions. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the electronic meeting policy.
This is essentially the same as what the town council passed, but I just toggled with it a tiny bit, so.
I kind of asked Darla to put this on the agenda because I had a situation come up where I was not able to attend in person, and I wanted to phone in and Zoom in on it, and our policy doesn't allow that right now. So I kind of asked Darla to bring it up to everyone and see what their feelings were.
This basically mirrors the state statute. So I would add, though, that if you're going to participate electronically, you have to be seen and heard. So if you're on a phone and you can't be seen, people have to actually, like, watch your mouth move when you vote. So you have to be seen and heard.
So no paper cutouts of yourself and
Nope,
up in a chair?
nope. Can't put your dog up there, nope, nope, nope.
Does that only apply to the planning commission members? That they have to be seen? Like if we, because we'll also be able to take comments from the public. Will they, can they still, if they're on a phone, obviously they wouldn't have video.
I don't think it matters for the public. It
Okay.
just, the statute just says that
All right.
the board member of whatever municipality or public agency we're talking about has to be seen and heard.
Okay.
So I keep listening instead of reading, but is there anything in here that says that we have to allow people to, like a citizen, to communicate with us electronically if we're having an in-person meeting? Okay, I just wanted to make sure of
You
that.
have to. You can if you want.
Another question I have is, does X amount of board members have to be here?
You have to have a quorum. At least 50% of you have to be here. So in other words, only 3 of you can be out.
So them 3 can be on a Zoom.
Correct.
Or not here at all. Or, I mean, if we already have a quorum, then
Right.
it wouldn't matter.
So if, let's say they all decide they're going to be on Zoom, 5 of them one night, then they would have to reschedule the meeting. Correct. If there weren't enough. Right.
So it would make a difference, David. Because if we have a
No, I
quorum,
mean, if we already have,
if we have a quorum here, if we have, there's how many here? 2, 4, 6 of us. If there's 3 here, that's a quorum.
4.
Or 4.
Yes.
The other 2 can zoom in.
right,
Oh,
right,
okay.
that's what I meant.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Right. The only time all of you can be absent or not in the room and participate on Zoom is if the governor has declared an emergency. Correct. Like we've been doing for COVID.
Yeah.
But once the emergency
One
ends.
heck of a long emergency.
Yeah.
So can they decide too, let's say it's gonna nasty, the weather's nasty in the winter, can they decide to have a Zoom-only meeting, even if they have this policy, or do they have to keep it in person and?
I think it has to be in person and Zoom unless there's an emergency. So if the governor declares an emergency or if the town council president declares an emergency for some reason, then they could Zoom, according to the statute.
What if the police department declares an emergency because of the roads?
No,
That's not an emergency.
I don't think so.
If they tell you get on the road, you're going to get a ticket.
Then I guess it's up to the town council member to decide. I mean, for the president of the plan commission to decide. Actually, no, it's not. It is the town council president has to declare the emergency. Or the governor, not the plan commission president. So in the event the governor declares a disaster emergency or the town council president declares a local disaster emergency, the Ellettsville Plan Commission may meet by any means of electronic communication.
Could it not say if the county declares an emergency? I mean, 'cause
I have to
rarely
go
does
back
the-
and check the statute, Dave, but I think I pretty much
Because
copied.
rarely does the town council
I know.
president declare an emergency, but
And
the
I-
county declares weather emergencies
Right,
all the
well,
time.
I just don't have the meeting, is what I would say. But anyway, I think the reason that shows up in the statute, I think now, is because of COVID and because local councils were declaring emergencies. But I would have to check the code, but I don't think the state statute will allow for it to be an emergency if the county.
We would still have to
Highway
post
to-
it 48 hours ahead, right? What we were going to do.
Yes.
So if we had a snow emergency, they're usually pretty quick.
Right,
And we would not have time to post a virtual meeting.
right.
So we'd more than likely, in a snow emergency, would just postpone the meeting.
I guess the other question I have, if I wanted to be on a virtual meeting, would I have to call David? To tell him that,
Don't call me, because I don't know what to do.
well,
Well,
that's not,
you'll have to notify,
who do you notify?
well, it's up to you guys to decide how to do that, but you're going to have to notify somebody because somebody needs to keep, whether it's Kevin or Denise, but somebody needs to keep track of who's going to be here in
Right,
person to make
yeah.
sure there's 4 people here. So,
I'd say we just call Kevin or Denise. If you can't make the meeting, call them. And she can say, well, you're the 4th person, so you either have to come or we can't have the meeting.
We don't care, you're in the hospital. having
Exactly.
surgery. You have to come.
We need 4 people and you're coming.
And in that instance, then someone's probably not going to contact you anyway. So once everyone gets here, then we wouldn't have the meeting because there would be only 3 people here. So guys, I don't think this is going to happen very often. I think it's just something as a backup plan if one of us needs it.
And if
And
this is word for word almost word for word what the council's
Yeah.
thing says, then
Yes.
we might as well adopt the same thing. We have to be consistent.
if you want to, you don't have to adopt the policy.
the council's meeting virtually right now, so we're not meeting in person.
Only Zoom.
Yeah, and I don't understand, why that's happening, but, because I think we should probably follow lead, but, one of us needs to, either the council will have in-person meetings or we'll have Zoom meetings, so.
So the governor's emergency still covers having electronic meetings?
Yeah. Yeah, when is the governor's order over?
It got extended again.
Extended it till October.
As far as I know, yes, it did get extended again.
So one more month.
Till October 30th, probably. Last one was September 30th, or 31st.
Well, I absolutely hate Zoom meetings, but I do agree that we should be consistent. I mean, if the town council's not meeting because of an emergency, then we probably shouldn't be either.
Right, it doesn't make sense to me why one board is meeting here and one's not.
Well, I think Kevin polled us and asked, were we willing, what did we choose? And I think that the majority of us chose to go ahead and meet in person. So I think that that was on us. Right, Kevin?
Technically, a majority didn't answer.
Oh, sorry.
Majority didn't answer?
I believe it was
So Sandy made the decision,
Two
is what
for
you're
and one
saying.
against.
Sorry.
Thanks, Sandy.
2 for and 1 against?
Yeah. So if you'd like to take a vote on it right now, go for it.
No, I mean, the only thing I'm saying is I much prefer to have an in-person meeting, but I do think we should all be consistent.
Yes.
Well, nothing in this town is consistent, because we aren't meeting in person in the council, but we had over 100 people in this room when the governor came. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's inconsistent. The Chamber of Commerce is having a lunch meeting here at least once a month with numerous people, so we are definitely, there's nothing consistent about the town of
Well,
Ellettsville's
I'm
meeting.
planning on bringing it up at the next council meeting anyway,
Why don't
so
you put that on the agenda, Sandy?
I already posted it, so you'll have to bring that up
I'll
under
bring it up.
comments.
But one of the groups have got to decide what's going to happen here.
You guys just need to man up and come
I
in.
don't mind being in person. I'm here right now.
Well, and the reason the Chamber of Commerce moved here for their monthly meetings is because the fire department closed their meeting room.
We'll throw another pitchfork in the fire. So they have a town meeting that's on Zoom, and then a week after that, the governor says you can have regular meetings. So you're gonna have a Zoom meeting because the town had a Zoom meeting, the council?
If the governor decides that Zoom meetings are over, the emergency's over, we can't have the Zoom meeting. We could have the hybrid meeting still.
I'll go sit in a corner over there if we can have regular meetings. I'll get 6 feet away.
Well, I realize I think I started this, but we should probably get back on track to,
Be consistent with everything else.
so I think we should be consistent in our policy with what this policy is for the town council.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the electronic meeting policy for the Ellettsville Plan Commission.
I second.
All right, good.
David Drake,
Yes?
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
Terry Baker.
Yes.
Sandra Hash.
Yes?
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Pat Wazalowski.
Yep.
Motion carried.
All right. Commercial uses discussion.
All right, I provided everyone with a chart of what uses are permitted. Actually, the chart is our entire list of uses for every district. So that's why some of those are in there with no boxes checked. This is the comprehensive list of everything that's permitted in the C1, C2, and C3 zones. There's 4 symbols. X is permitted by right. SE is a special exception, which would go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. R are restricted uses, which I think only means they have to come off of a state road, which almost all of our commercial districts are on 46 anyway, so that doesn't affect very many parcels. And what was the 4th one? Here was my notes.
X3.
Oh, yes.
No, what did you mean, the ones that don't have anything in the boxes? What did that mean?
They are not permitted.
Okay.
in the commercial zone. They're permitted in other districts, that's why they're on there.
So what district is adult entertainment allowed?
Industrial, I think it's I2.
Oh, industrial, okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping it wasn't residential.
No. Yeah, in the X3, they're permitted, but they have to be at least 250 feet from any business in which alcoholic beverages are served. So those are your four categories on here. But I was asked to bring, or put this on the agenda for discussion, so there it is.
So we don't allow auction barns anywhere, huh?
No, some of the stuff, it's probably allowed in industrial zones.
Oh, okay. But there's no X's. No X's, so yeah, that means it's not allowed.
No,
So-
it means it's not allowed in commercial, but it is probably allowed in
Get
industrial.
another,
Well, he's got industrial here
Where?
at the bottom.
Bottom of the second page, on the reverse page.
Oh,
of
but you're
one.
just saying the C1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, those are the only zoning districts that I put on here.
So, okay. So,
They're broken down by types of uses, so it starts off with commercial, then there's industrial uses, residential, agricultural.
We allow a kennel in C3, that's shocking to me.
what is it, David? Are we-
A kennel?
Well, we've got
Kevin,
one.
are these following the state recommendations, or are they our own?
These are ours, I
That's
mean,
where Bank One used to be?
there really aren't state recommendations.
Not for liquor either?
I mean, there's some state laws, I don't know if any of them contradict what we have. But I think that's why you have a couple of them where they have to be 250 feet from a place that sells alcohol.
we just changed that, it seemed like. We didn't used to. Now we do.
Why is the farm store supply, that has to be in industrial?
It might be in agricultural.
Because what would Tractor Supply be? It's zone C3, isn't it?
Should be, yeah.
It's a farm supply store.
And we do have a number of places in town where the zoning doesn't match the use that's there. I mean, I know Bender Lumber is zoned residential, even though it's never been residential.
But it's been there forever, too.
Yeah.
In one shape or another.
Mm-hmm.
Wick's Lumber Company was there.
Yeah.
Well, what they have there, they can
Keep.
build residential houses with.
Yeah. Yeah. Would this be an area in discussing all this, to discuss having gravel parking lots in C3?
I mean, that's a little different discussion.
It needs to be addressed, I think.
Well, we didn't have gravel parking lots, if I remember right, and I don't always remember right, but I thought it was when Richard's Small Engine came in and they wanted a gravel, and so we kind of changed our rule to let them have gravel. I don't know. Used to, we didn't
I
have gravel. But we even
remember.
changed it for residential for gravel too.
For driveways.
Yep. Because it used to always be permanent surface.
Yeah, but it had to be framed by
Yeah.
timbers and stuff, and these are not. But I think that's something we need to look at. I mean, we don't want to get carried away with gravel parking lots in C3. But this is a good start.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a big, long list and probably a big discussion. Were we going to have the whole discussion about this tonight, or this was for us to look at and then come back at a later time and actually have the big discussion about it?
That's entirely up to the board, whether you'd like to have that discussion tonight or have it another time or ask questions tonight. I
Who
don't.
asked you to do this? Planning or council?
It was brought up at Planning Commission
Yeah.
last
I
meeting.
brought it up.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Thanks.
Well, here's my concern. I just didn't want to go through what we did for town council. Is the apartments having commercial under them? I'd like to see that changed where if apartments did come in, there would be no commercial under them. Because look what we just went through.
Yes.
So that was my reason for bringing it up.
Okay.
You know,
No, I mean, it's a good thing, we should review this
Yeah.
periodically, and, because we look at it and go, how did that happen?
Yeah. What's the asterisk for water park mean?
There's a couple of uses that are listed two different ways. They're not in commercials, so I took that off of here. I don't remember exactly, well, I don't think I have the other sheet.
I don't see it on here, but there was a discussion months back about a dog park. What's happening with the dog park? Anything?
No?
And where would that be at?
That's more of a town.
Pardon me?
That's on town property. So
it's considered a park, so.
Yeah. Yeah, parks and playgrounds.
Where is storage units? I can't find it.
Well, I suggest we all look at this and next month, put this back on the agenda. And if anyone has any questions or concerns, make notes and we go over it then.
Storage and processing has no dots. So where does the storage, individual storage,
It's under
Mini-
mini rental,
Yeah.
storage facility, and mini warehouse.
mental, okay,
Yeah, under,
yeah.
look for microbrewery, and it's right underneath it.
Thank you. I couldn't find it.
It'll be on it's on the first page.
Yeah,
of
I
what-
see it now.
Okay. Get this real quick.
Yeah.
That's one before I cut some stuff out.
So many warehouses aren't allowed in the C zonings at all?
You're allowed in C3. Oh, mini warehouses.
Mini warehouse.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have anything.
Yeah, I don't know why we have many rental storage facilities and many warehouses listed separately and permitted in different areas.
And the reason I'm even questioning that is because Mr. Ellis had brought up that he thought it would be something nice to have little storage areas that could be used as businesses. Never mind, I'll let him, I might not have understood what he was saying. But like, instead of a, what do they call those businesses where you can come in and rent your?
One of them pods?
No.
Startups?
No.
Incubators?
Incubators.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But this would be like for more of a retail incubator type thing, where they had storage area that
Oh,
could be a
gotcha.
business.
Gotcha.
He just was having an idea, but I didn't know if that would be mini warehouses.
No, I don't know what the difference between mini rental storage and mini warehouses are. I mean, part of the issue right now is our permitted uses aren't in a spreadsheet like this. They're listed in paragraph form under each zoning district. Which then when you pull it all together, you kind of see things there's some stuff that doesn't make sense or some things that contradict each other. The asterisks for the water park and amusement parks, they're in A2, they are permitted uses and special exceptions. That's the way that it's written in code, which isn't possible.
They're in A2?
Yes. They're permitted by right and a special exception. And for use, you can be, it has to be one or the other. It can't be both.
A2's agricultural, right?
It's suburban agricultural. Our zoning ordinance is a mess. I mean, there are so many things in there that make no sense. And we have like 2 parcels zoned A2.
Have what?
2 parcels that are zoned A2.
In the whole town?
Yeah.
Is one of those Smithville property? on the
No,
west side?
Is it on the corner of McNeely and Matthews?
I want to say it is the Mitchell property. And there's another one on the west side. I don't know if it's Harmon's farm or right around there.
Well, both of those are out.
They're agricultural. Why we have separate agricultural districts for a town, I have no idea.
I think it'd be a good idea for us to go through these and highlight anything we have a question about or we need to get changed. And that way we can all be on the same page at the same time.
I tried to open Elevate up on my phone to see where we
Oh,
were thinking of opening.
Okay, anybody got any more questions about that? Our next meeting is November 4th. Next item on the agenda is privilege of the floor. Any non-agenda items that our voluminous crowd would like to speak about? Okay, Plan Commission comments.
Do you need one of these signed, Darla?
Sandy needs it signed, so once you've signed it, she can provide me with a copy.
Well, I mean, there's a place on here for all of us to sign.
Right. Once you signed it, you give it to Sandy and she'll send me a copy. She needs the original.
Okay, next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.